The Mystery Dungeon series has found a significant success over the years thanks to its clever collaborations with other franchises, most notably Pokemon. However, the series' roots lie with an adventurer named Shiren. After his debut in 1995's Mystery Dungeon 2, the series saw wild success leading up to 2010's Shiren the Wanderer, the Tower of Fortune, and the Dice of Fate. Now, 13 years later, the series has returned with Shiren the Wanderer, the Mystery Dungeon of Serpentcoil Island. This new entry not only bridges the gap between classic and modern dungeon crawler roguelikes, but it also just might be one of the most addictive games I've played from this genre. Shiren the Wanderer, the Mystery Dungeon of Serpentcoil Island, opens with Shiren and Kappa having dreams about a mysterious girl trapped inside of a monster. The opening actually highlights just how powerful Shiren has become, but sadly, after making it to the creature, he is defeated and loses his memories. Now the duo must ascend the 30 levels up the mountain once again, but this time, like all roguelikes, they'll have to start from level 1. While this is the game's premise in the opening moments, there are several subplots revolving around the residents of the island who are currently suffering from a drought. Further, there's news that Serpentcoil Island is hiding some kind of treasure, which invites several groups of pirates to investigate. But there's also ninja drama and weird cultists that reside in the area who plan on defending their homes. To progress the narrative, all you really need to do is play. Dying in a dungeon brings you back to the beginning of the game, which opens up new scenarios and sometimes new shops that may make further runs easier. But that said, this is a game that mainly comes down to skill and an understanding of the various items. The narrative is pretty interesting because if you're good enough, you might be able to clear the main campaign in less than 5 runs, which means you can start from New Game Plus and there's a ton of scenarios waiting for you. But these subplots are all pretty unique and even reintroduce characters like Asuka, who Shiren sadly doesn't remember at the time. These plots lead to additional stores opening up, as well as secret dungeons that house unique items and enemies. This creates different experiences for any who play, and I found the diverse story routes and scenes to be a nice way to connect players to the island, even though I'd say the supporting cast isn't exceptionally memorable. With that said, Shiren the Wanderer, the Mystery Dungeon of Serpentcoil Island, is all about dungeon crawling gameplay, and that's where it excels. Each run has you begin at level 1 with nothing in your inventory. Later in the game, there are ways to hold your items in your warehouse, but expect your first few runs to be a little frustrating as you get to know the systems. I will say that I do wish the team ensured more ways of first 4 floors containing weapons, because there are many runs where I couldn't find a weapon if my life depended on it. However, the balance comes with magical items and scrolls that can likely keep you alive during most situations. The only problem here is understanding how to use them. The classic turn-based system allows for strategic planning, which is where you're expected to go into your menu and plan out which items to use. This includes applying status elements to enemies and managing your health and hunger. During my run, where I completed the game, I utilized some confusion and poison items to get through the boss, but subsequent runs presented alternative options, such as using elements or knocking enemies back to clear rooms for additional planning. It becomes a constantly changing playground as you adjust to the hand you are dealt on the fly and do your best to survive. Regardless of your loadout, the process of approaching enemies and attacking remains at the core of the experience. Moving throughout the dungeons and towns and even navigating the menus has all been streamlined in a way to give you a smooth experience while playing and progressing through the levels. But making a dire mistake at stage 25 always comes with a bit of a sting. If you fall in a dungeon, you do have a few options to revive your character, but it comes with a little bit of luck. After falling, you can put up a request on the online notice board for someone to revive you, which will grant them bonuses and get you back in the action. However, this does require online players to enter the dungeon from level 1 and progress to where you fell. It is possible to save yourself as well, but you will also need to enter the room from the dungeon at level 1 and make your way back to where you were, which is pretty much like you're replaying the entire game already without having access to towns or secret paths. The entire experience becomes exceptionally addictive thanks to the unique gameplay elements, various equipment, and fun usable items. Each run becomes a challenge, but it's manageable to an extent as you can play to clear the main campaign or just play casually and experience the various scenarios for extras. Another thing to note is that equipment can also be upgraded along with Shiren's stats, which creates a nice upward slope to completing the game. After getting accustomed to the classic systems, you can then dive deeper into the equipment upgrades by focusing on runes and extra effects equipment comes with, such as the Onigiri shield slowing down your hunger. There's also a training dojo available that allows you to test out various items against enemies and plan out future strategies. I really enjoyed the overall presentation here. The dungeons were all unique in themes, but they didn't actually have too many unique gimmicks. But they do present plenty of traps. Further, I really enjoyed the soundtrack, which created an almost relaxing and peaceful atmosphere against the nail-biting strategic battles you may find yourself in. Shiren the Wanderer, the mystery dungeon of Serpentcoil Island, is an exceptionally addictive roguelike dungeon crawler. It borrows classic systems from the genre, but presents them in a modern light for players to really challenge themselves, which I feel the Shiren series has always been great at. There may be some initial confusion about how to get the most out of the gameplay elements, but the overall sense of satisfaction and enjoyment this game provides is unmatched. There's so much depth and discovery in this adventure that I highly recommend it to all fans of the genre. Noisy Pixel is giving Shiren the Wanderer, the mystery dungeon of Serpentcoil Island, a 9 out of 10. Thanks for watching. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers providing independent gaming coverage through news, reviews, previews, and more. Check out our Patreon to help support our continued growth, and subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy Pixel.